We already know the Amiga catalog is a kaleidoscope of demo scene flexes, bedroom curios, and at least 3 different Chrome Teapot Tech demos, so why does Abandoned Places: A Time for Heroes still feel like that oddball cousin who shows up to the family reunion in chainmail, quotes Dragonlance at the snack table, then politely asks if anyone can resurrect a minor deity? Depending on whom you corner at a retro convention, the game is either a cult classic crawler that dared to out-dungeon Dungeon Master, hyperbole very much intended, or a clunky curiosity whose grid mazes deserve to stay, well, abandoned. Underrated, overpraised, foundational, forgotten? Yes, simultaneously. It's a title where your cleric keels over from hunger one tile shy of an oasis. Bread loaves function as encumbrance therapy, and spell runes look suspiciously like Hungarian tongue twisters. Don't play coy. We're exploring because nothing screams fond Amiga memory like swapping disc 4, just to watch your paladin faint from thirst while the drive accessorizes the soundtrack with grinding noises. Historical context: back in 1992, International Computer Entertainment, ICE, occupied that strata of UK publishers who filled the pages of Amiga Power between joystick ads and mail-order fish and chip coupons. Scrappy, budget-minded, convinced the A500 could still outshine choking MS-DOS VGA rigs if you pumped the copper list hard enough. Meanwhile, deep in Szeged, Hungary, a small collective calling itself Art Game, or when Western magazines couldn't spell their surnames, the Hungarian Development Team, and wanted to prove that Eastern Bloc code could rival FTL's Dungeon Master and SSI's Eye of the Beholder. Their pitch became Abandoned Places. ICE boxed it in metallic neon artwork that looked like Boris Vallejo's intern experimenting with highlighter pens, and shipped it to continental retailers on 7 floppies. Amiga first, DOS port later. My first sighting, a smoky Boston electronics shop looping the game's attract mode on an imported PAL of 500. The mosaic title font shimmered, timpani boomed, and an English narrator, clearly reading phonetic copy, welcomed 4 hair rows of Calinthia to Destiny. Hook sold, $50 poorer. I left with a jewel case whose manual smelled of dot matrix ink. The manual doubled as copy protection. Key spell scrolls were printed in barely visible gray, so photocopies produced blank parchment, a budget trick that accidentally became world-building flavor. 1992's Dungeon Zeitgeist was crowded. Eye of the Beholder 2 and Ultima Underworld dominated PC mags, while console kids flirted with Shining in the Darkness. Press buzz for Abandoned Places leaned on 2 claims: an overworld map that let you march mini-pawns between towns in real time, and weather effects that could literally murder underclothed adventurers. Amiga reviewers applauded the ambition. DOS critics shrugged and said, nice but rough. Sales settled around a respectable $250,000 across platforms, enough for ICE to bankroll a sequel the next year. We'll save that cautionary tale for another column. Mechanics Party Roll Call and the 9-slot bread dilemma character creation resurrects 4 long-deceased champions: Warrior, Paladin, Cleric, and Mage templates, scrolled from a rune circle UI. Class stats echo AD and Orthodoxy. Fighters soak damage. Clerics patch holes. Wizards nuke rooms after a coffee break. Each hero also packs a personal inventory grid whose most precious resource is, brace yourself, bread. Food depletes steadily both in dungeons and on the overworld march, so veterans bulk buy loaves in the starting city until the encumbrance warning flashes red. No authoritative source confirms weight secretly slows your cooldowns, yet empirical testing shows the more you lug, the more combat feels like swinging through quicksand. Whether intentional or placebo, loaf management becomes the game's unofficial score multiplier. Carry too much and you suffer. Carry too little and you starve at dusk. First-person mazes meet top-down road trips. The heart of Abandoned Places is a grid-based 90-degree dungeon engine straight out of Dungeon Master. Stone corridors, pressure plates, spinners that flip your orientation like a Gravitron ride. Movement keys nudge the party 1 tile at a time. Weapon icons animate individual cooldown swipes. Combat runs in real time, but the Amiga's blitter can only juggle so many sprite frames before the frame rate coughs, so timing your frontline swings feels more rhythmic than frantic. A proto-legend of Grimrock cadence. Then there's the overworld, a scrolling map reminiscent of Defender of the Crown rendered in painterly hues. You plot a course with the mouse, days tick by, random encounter alerts pop, bandits at dusk, and the engine snap loads a bespoke arena back in first person. It's jarring, charming, and ambitious, harking forward to Might and Magic 6's hybrid zones. Light winter storms inflict HP attrition if you forgot cloaks, making weather not just atmospheric garnish, but a passive DPS threat. Sierra would have killed you outright. Abandoned Places merely nags you to shop better. Rune casting and accidental Hungarian lesson spells activate from a rune grid shaped like a pentagram, each sigil labeled with syllables. Sar, Fir, Nav. Fans later noted many draw from Hungarian phonetics, likely Easter eggs from the dev team rather than formal linguistics. Casting Sarnav conjures a light globe, handy in catacombs. Firsar hurls a modest fireball. Unlike Eye of the Beholder, where runes stack dynamically, Abandoned Places demands exact sequences. One typo, and you expend precious mana, producing a sad sparkle. My recurring absurd motif emerges here. Bread-crumb. I once panicked during an ogre ambush, misclicked my clerics spellbook, and instead of healing, cast Nav Nav, a wind burst that scattered half my bread stack across the floor. Watching magic carbs tumble while my party died cemented bread as both lifeline and comic relief. Difficulty curves, save shrines, and disc swap Zen save points exist only at shrines, one per city hub, so you'll marathon multi-floor dungeons on faith. The Amiga version loads each level from floppy, punishing reckless experimentation with minute-long read grinds. I cultivated disc swap Zen, meditate as drive clicks sip flat mellow yellow, then unpause to face gelatinous cubes. On WHD load images today, loading is instant, oddly the tension also vanishes. Legacy and influence. Why did Abandoned Places fade from mainstream retrospectives? Timing, polish, and geography. Commodore imploded 2 years later, shrinking Amiga mindshare. The English localization, serviceable but clunky. The necromancer Bronakh escaped it. Invited ridicule in magazines that had just applauded LucasArts' razor-sharp wit. DOS ports faced brutal competition from Lands of Lore and Ultima Underworld. Yet the game's design threads out into the medium. Overworld travel fused to tile-based dungeons shows up in Might and Magic revivals. Weather-induced HP drain resembles Don't Starve's nighttime sanity spiral. Even the rune grid whispers through Nordic-flavored indies that use phoneme combos for magic crafting. Several art game alumni migrated to projects like Imperium Galactica, seeding Hungarian talent across European dev hubs. Fan devotion lingers. WHD load patches, optimize memory, Amiga mod archives, host Georgi Dragon and Lajo Suvak's soundtrack in crunchy Pro Tracker glory, YouTube long plays, clock 4-hour full clears. A 2018 community translation patch fixed item descriptions, evidence someone still cares enough to hex 68,000 assembly at 3 AM, closing paragraph plus score. So what is Abandoned Places in 2025? It's the half-eaten loaf in the retro lunchbox, stale around the crust, surprisingly hearty inside, faintly smoky with Hungarian paprika. It's a dungeon crawler that dared bolt a hex-based overworld onto a Dungeon Master chassis and sprinkle linguistic Easter eggs nobody asked for but everybody remembers. Sometimes the music loops awkwardly, sometimes the English localization trips over its own participles. Yet when night falls on the Corinthian plain and your wizard finally nails Fursar in one click, the Amiga's Paula chip sings magic. Final verdict, 7.0 out of 10. Add a point if you adore inventory micromanagement and weird Euro fantasy vibes. Subtract half if disc swapping gives you PTSD either way. Pack extra bread, practice your runes, and remember, Abandoned Places are only abandoned until some hungry heroes with doubtful accents show up.